The Christmas Eve sunset was falling slowly, tinting the neighborhood with a golden, almost nostalgic glow. The house lights were beginning to turn on, one by one. Ethan opened the door, irritated, wearing his usual bad-tempered expression, to check what was making noise at his doorstep. In the corner of the porch, almost covered by a thin layer of snow, was a small dog, trembling, curled up as if his entire body were trying to hide from the cold. His damp fur glistened under the fading light, and around his neck was a red scarf. Not just any red, but that specific shade only old fabrics have. A red Ethan knew. The dog lifted his gaze. It wasn't a plea for help, it was recognition. As if he had been waiting for that exact man to open that exact door. Ethan felt his heart stumble, a familiar discomfort, almost like when memories insist on returning. He took a step back, but something in his chest didn't step back with him. Why would that dog be there? Why on that day? And why with that scarf? There was something hidden in that quiet evening, something Ethan couldn't yet imagine. But that would change his Christmas forever. Ethan hadn't always been like this. Closed off, quiet, almost made of shadows. There was a time when Christmas Eve was his favorite day of the year. He and his wife, Grace, had a small ritual. They lit the fireplace early, made hot chocolate together, and then walked around the neighborhood to admire the lights. Grace always wore a red scarf, an old piece of fabric she had sewn herself when she was young. It was her symbol of her easy laughter, of the way she saw beauty in the smallest things. But 3 years earlier, everything had changed. The illness arrived suddenly, silent and far too fast. And the last Christmas Eve Ethan spent by her side was also the last time the house had any real light. After Grace was gone, the red scarf was placed in a drawer he never opened again. And Christmas for Ethan became a forbidden place, a day he crossed the way someone passes through a field of shattered glass. Little by little he grew smaller. Visits became rare, friends drifted away, and even the scent of pine, which Grace loved, became painful. He avoided anything that might remind him of what he had lost. He preferred silence, even when it hurt. And then, on that Christmas Eve, as the sun began to rest behind the houses, Ethan saw the trembling dog on his porch. That scarf around his neck. That gaze that seemed to understand something no one else could see in him. He tried to ignore it, told himself it was just a lost animal. But a troubling question began pulsing in his mind, insistent as a distant bell. Why did this feel so familiar? And as night approached, Ethan realized that, for the first time in years, he couldn't bring himself to close the door. If this story is touching your heart, subscribe to Christmas Tales to receive more stories of hope, tenderness, and small Christmas miracles. Returning to the story, Ethan stood frozen at the door for long seconds, watching the dog tremble. The sky had already lost its golden hue, and now Christmas Eve was deepening into a rich blue, almost purple, announcing a night colder than any other that winter. The dog took a small step toward him, then another, and then stopped, as if waiting for permission. Something inside Ethan gave way. He opened the door a little wider and murmured, barely audible, "Come in, just for a moment." The dog entered slowly. Ethan grabbed an old towel to dry him and found himself staring at the red scarf, which reminded him so deeply of his wife. He touched the fabric. It was far too similar to the scarf he had stored away, the same shade, the same soft texture, as if someone, somewhere, had recreated a fragment of that memory. Now warmer, the dog walked through the living room with the ease of someone who knew the place, and then he stopped in front of the old dresser. He touched the drawer with his paw, insisted, looked at Ethan. It was the drawer he hadn't opened since his last Christmas with Grace. With trembling hands, Ethan pulled the handle. The wood gave way with an old sigh. Inside, beneath a few photos, was something he didn't remember ever putting there. A small letter, folded in thirds, written, For Ethan, with love, Grace. A letter he had never seen, and in that instant Ethan understood that the dog was not there by accident. Ethan slowly sat down at the edge of the couch, the letter between his fingers. The dog, now lying beside him like a silent sentinel, watched his every move. He took a deep breath and opened the letter. The handwriting was unmistakable. Grace's rounded script, firm and delicate at the same time. My love, if you are reading this, it means a Christmas has come when I could no longer be by your side. I don't want this day to become a place of pain for you. I know how your heart closes when it hurts. That's why I leave you one request. When the longing becomes too heavy, allow something small to find you, something that makes you open the door again. Maybe a song, maybe a memory, maybe a small guardian. Don't be frightened if it arrives suddenly. Just let it in. Ethan had to close his eyes. The letter was old, written months before she passed. He pressed it to his chest. The dog placed his head on Ethan's knee in a gesture so simple it made him break down in silence. Later that night, Ethan prepared, for the first time in 3 years, a cup of hot chocolate. He placed a second bowl on the floor for the dog, now named Charlie. The following Christmas, the house was different. Not overly lit, not overly festive, just alive. With a gentle morning, a lit fireplace, and a man who had relearned how to open the door. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone special and join us at Christmas Tales, where every story sparks a small light of hope.